Hey guys, welcome back to the Lawrenceville Bicentennial Podcast. I'm Nate McGill, your host from Gwinnett Magazine, and this is the Lawrenceville Bicentennial Podcast, a show where we talk to the people that know Lawrenceville best to celebrate the big 200th birthday of Lawrenceville. Today on the show, we're talking about a very special sector of workforce development, that part that gives opportunities to students and Lawrenceville businesses to get connected. Man, this is awesome partnership between Impact 46 and the City of Lawrenceville, talking about what happens during the summers in Lawrenceville, but the program actually gets started pretty soon. So you don't want to miss this on this episode of the Lawrenceville Bicentennial Podcast. Check it out. Hey guys, welcome back to the Lawrenceville Bicentennial Podcast. I'm your host, Nate McGill from Gwinnett Magazine, and today on the show, we're talking about impact. We're talking about making a difference, and we're talking about the other side of economic development, the side that has to deal with workforce development. You know, you put a lot of emphasis onto bringing companies to the area, but who's going to work there? We got to figure out that. And that's called workforce development. So it's kind of exciting to talk about that topic with you guys here today. Super excited to have some amazing guests from Impact 46, City of Lawrenceville, and Discovery High School. So it'll be a great podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we're just going to jump right in. Why don't we just start and go around the table, and then I'll have you introduce yourself and maybe give us a little background in what you do, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, you're up first, Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen Young. I'm the Executive Director for Impact 46, which is a faith-based community development nonprofit in Lawrenceville. I grew up in Lawrenceville before there were clusters. I was part of the Collins Hill cluster, so go Eagles. But,
okay, cool.
Moved back to Lawrenceville after about a decade in Augusta doing community development work in nonprofit, and came back here in 2014. Spent a small amount of time with a local church doing college and children's ministry, and then transitioned back into community development with Impact 46.
How'd you get into community development?
Well, it was through my church in Augusta.
Wow, okay.
We were a church that was in the middle of our city, and we had a new pastor that came in and was he kind of challenged us to love our city well. And he recognized as a newbie and a new set of eyes that we weren't doing that very well.
Wow.
And so he challenged a lot of us to move into the parts that nobody really wanted to live into Augusta.
Wow.
And I was one of those few early adopters into that vision and bought in, and it changed my life.
Wow,
So, yeah.
that's great. I heard a good quote earlier today, actually, early this morning when I was driving in. I was listening to something where a pastor was talking about, like, if the church is not making a difference in their community, if the church goes away and the community doesn't notice that you're gone, then you probably haven't been doing the job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our pastor said something very, very similar.
Yeah, that's great.
So, yeah.
So let's jump over to you, Jasmine. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you do for the City of Lawrenceville.
Yeah, so my name is Jasmine Billing. I'm the Community Development Manager for the City of Lawrenceville. Been with Lawrenceville for about 4 years now, started out as an event coordinator and recently got promoted. So very excited about that. Also grew up in Lawrenceville, Snellville area, went to Brookwood. Go Brookwood, go Broncos. I lived in Atlanta for about 5 years after I graduated college, and then moved back to Lawrenceville recently, and I've loved it ever since. So being able to connect with, just different partners, students, and things of that nature, it's just been a really good way.
That is so great. All right, we're going to hop over to you, Nicole. Give us a little bit of your background. You're a student at Discovery, right?
Yep.
All right.
I'm Nicole. I go to Discovery. I'm a senior. Senior season.
Yeah, right.
I grew up in Lawrenceville, and I played volleyball. And I was previously an intern with Jasmine as a community relations intern.
Okay, awesome. So you were actually interning for the city.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right, great. Well, let's jump into it. Let's learn a little bit about Impact 46. Maybe just give us the background of the organization and how it got started. And you guys have some really interesting viewpoints in terms of like creating good, like great communities. Those six sectors for the common good. I want to hear a little bit about that. So maybe give us some background.
Okay, so Impact 46 started around 2011 as a prayer group out of Lawrenceville First United Methodist, and it was community members gathering recognizing that there were things that needed to happen in Lawrenceville. However, they really took a different approach and just began to pray with one another and began to build relationships and ask questions. And so it was really, the first approach was community listening. It was listening to the community, hearing what people were saying, understanding the history and the background, instead of just thinking that they had all the answers. They really did take a different approach, which I deeply respected, because so many people just jump in thinking that they can save a city or save an organization or different things like that. But these people took a different position, and that really set the foundation for Impact 46. So we became a nonprofit incorporated in 2017, and I came on as executive director in 2018. And so at the very beginning, it's kind of setting, doing all the boring stuff like bylaws and making sure you have a board and all of those super fun things that everybody loves to do. So the first year was really setting a foundation, but it was also bringing together all of those relationships that had been built and really taking the network and using that as a catalyst to start to do some significant things in Lawrenceville. And we started with students. And so the very first thing that we did was we gathered everyone from the 6 sectors, which we refer to as businesses, local nonprofits, churches, neighborhoods, government, and schools. And through that, we want to solve a problem in our community. But we have to work together. We can't stay in silos. And so we started to invest in Central Gwinnett High School. And so Jasmine and I worked very hard on getting the Summer of Impact off the ground.
Okay.
And we got a lot of no's at the very beginning. People just really couldn't understand what we were trying to do.
Sure.
And they didn't think it could happen, quite honestly. We heard a lot of people say, like, this will never take off.
So the problem that you were trying to solve, what was that problem? It was leadership. It was helping these students get a real world experience.
It was. I mean, what we really saw was there was a lack of opportunities in this specific cluster.
Okay.
And as you go throughout Gwinnett County, we have a phenomenal school system. However, there are schools that do better than others. And Central Gwinnett was one of those that we really believed had all the talent, but nobody was talking about it. There's a lot of negativity from the students themselves, and then even within our own community surrounding this school. And as Jasmine and I were in the school, we were like, this has got to change. I mean, this is a phenomenal school.
Right.
Sure.
So how do we really help celebrate that and then bring some positive attention to this school? And so we wanted to create opportunities for these students because that's what we saw they didn't have. They had
so
talent.
needed.
They had everything that they needed. They just needed an opportunity to shine.
Right.
And that's exactly what we just did.
Yeah, they were coming into very close to downtown Lawrenceville to go to school, but the engagement from there was just kind of falling off, it sounds like.
Absolutely. They were just detached from the city.
Right.
And so we wanted to connect them back
Invite
to the
them
city.
into the city.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
We go into the schools, and one of the questions that I always ask when I talk to the students, is how many of you have been to downtown Lawrenceville? And you just see blank stares.
Yeah.
you
What?
know?
There's a downtown?
There's a downtown, yes. And so just engaging them more and, showing them what's in their backyard, I think was really one of the goals that we really had. So,
Yeah.
And I think what was really cool was not only were we able to get students jobs, but one of my favorite things that came out of it was kind of just a secondary win was these older generations that had grown up in one of the oldest cities in Gwinnett, and all of a sudden it's like Lawrenceville is new and fresh again.
Right.
And they're seeing students and understanding their world for the first time. And so we were really seeing 2 to 3 different generations coming together, and the only commonality that they had was their city. Yet they were so detached because they grew up so differently.
Yeah.
For people that grew up here in the 70s and 80s, I mean, it was dirt roads.
Very true.
And now it's a booming city, and it continues to grow and develop. So these students being paired with businesses, it expanded not only their social network, but their professional network as well.
Yes.
But it did some tremendous things behind the scenes for our city.
That's
It
amazing. Very good.
engaged people that would never come together. and to be a part and to sit down and have dinner and have deep discussions about race and equality and all these different things that we want to talk about, but sometimes you don't have that commonality to start that conversation. And so the Summer of Impact created that. Yeah.
Okay, so Jasmine, we're going to jump over to you. You gave us a little bit about your background in the city. How did you first hear about Impact 46 and get involved with this?
So community leaders. I had a breakfast with our city manager, Chuck Worthington. He invited me to meet Jen and Alan and some other officials. And so it was nice to be a part of that conversation, to be part of the beginning conversation, to learn about Impact 46 and what their true passions were. And then, from there, I think it just took off beyond just the surface level of this is what your business does, this is what the City of Lawrenceville, this is how we can, incorporate each other. I think it just took off from there. With the Summer of Impact, like Jen said, when we first started, it was a lot of no's. And I'm really big on celebrating the no's because I think that they give you a foundation and help you build that base out. And so as we were going through the Summer of Impact, building out the process, hearing those no's, I think it helped us just form something that we could grow year to year, and with the students having the first 10, we still talk to them today. They're doing really great things and just learning about, hearing from them what they want to see. And that's kind of evolved over time. And I think, I've had the pleasure to have 4 interns so far. And every time I talk to them, I feel like I'm learning something new about what they're going through or about what they do. And it helps me in my career just because I feel like in community development, you really want to really give back to your community, learn how your city thrives, learn what its people want. And, coming from events to just this role in general, I think that I've just learned so much that I've been able to incorporate from those students because I think youth voices are so important. And, to bring them to the table, it's been an honor for me, but also just I think it's helped really gather and form just processes that we have in our city. So. Yeah.
That's amazing. So when you were hearing no, you were hearing no from the schools, you were hearing no from businesses. And did that just make you go back and work on your messaging? Like, did you feel like you were trying to find the right pain point for the schools and for the businesses? You knew like it was going to help students be successful, but how did you go about getting that, yes?
Right. And so I think it was coming from a place of empathy, honestly. Our businesses, they are small businesses. And so we're asking for paid internships. These students are, making above minimum wage when we go and talk about our messaging. And so I think it was just letting them know that even though we're coming to you with a framework, you get to build out what your student intern gets to do and what they get to learn. And I think that makes some people really excited. It also makes some people really nervous because, they are worried. They're thinking about so many different things in a given day for their business. And so just coming to them with, these are ideas of what you can do with a student intern. These are what they're learning in their schools. One thing I think we did really well and that we've done and that we're continuing to do is really pair students up with the academies that they're involved in. And so for the first year, we had a law office. We had a student who really wanted to become a lawyer. And so she got to learn the ins and outs of working in a law office. And I think
so great.
I think sometimes you don't think that a high school student, they have to answer the phones, they have to communicate effectively and things of that nature. But having someone that's dedicated to them, that can teach them the proper ways and things of that nature.
Right. All those career soft skills that you need no matter what you're going into.
Yes, yes. And they're all transferable, Right. She may get into law and say, I don't want to do this.
Super important lesson.
Very important lesson. And why go through 4 years of college and get to that point where you're like, yes, I've been there. You get to that point where you're like, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Right.
But being able to experience that in your high school time frame, I think it helps formulate what you want to do for the, maybe for the rest of your life or decades or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Firsthand testimonial from Nicole here. Now tell us about your intern experience. How'd you hear about the program? What was it like going into the program? What made you interested in this kind of thing?
So at first, I followed the business academy at Discovery High School. So Mr. Cruz was like my administrator. So I kind of heard it from him at first. He was like, "Oh, are you interested in an internship?" And I was like, I've never heard about anything like this at Discovery. So I was like, okay, sure. So I stayed after school one day, and then they would just talk about like resumes, entrepreneurial skills and stuff like that, like how to be more, how to appear to businesses. And so it was just like, okay, this is something that I'm going to need. And it was like, it's something that it's a job, but it's not just like a regular job like, oh, McDonald's, Burger King, like that. It's something that you can use. It's like going to prepare you for in the future, like when you go into your profession, whatever profession that you want to do. So it was like, that's what kind of intrigued me at first. It was just like, okay, so this is something, it's not just a job. Like, of course, we're all high school students. We're looking for, quick cash and all that type of stuff. But it was like a job that, okay, I will actually learn something from this that'll help me in the future. And so I had my interview with Jasmine, and I got the role as a community relations intern. And so from there, at first, I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing.
Right, you just going in.
I'm just like, going
feet
in.
First. Yeah.
And so at first, she was just like walking me through everything. And she was like, this role, you're going to be doing everything on your own. I'm not going to be like walking you baby steps. So it was just like, okay, whoa, what is this?
Responsibility.
Right. So I learned like responsibilities. And of course, like she was there, but she had her own stuff going on.
Sure.
And so it was just like, we had our weekly meetings. And so it was like, that was your time to ask whatever questions, get whatever help that you needed. So I really enjoyed this experience. I feel like every high school student should be able to take this experience if it's given to them, because it really just helped me to like learn like responsibilities, how to work well with others, how to be like more vocal and like, I think like how to be more vocal with other people, like, because at first I'm not shy, but I would say like if it's people that I don't know, I'm not gonna be like more vocal. But she was having me meet new people like every week, and I was just like, okay, so I'm gonna have to start talking, introducing myself and things like that.
Yeah.
And so like we had like events every week, and like as a high school student, I would say Discovery, we're in Lawrenceville, but like nobody knows about any of the events or anything like that. And it was just crazy to see like all this stuff that went on in downtown Lawrenceville that I would never have heard of if I wasn't.
Isn't that amazing? The communication, we think we're doing a great job promoting all the things we're doing locally, and then you ask some students on the street, and they're like, I have no idea what you're even talking about. Why do you think that is? And from terms of communication, do you think it's social media is where people are getting their information from? You think that we're not doing a great job of spreading out the information?
Honestly, I think it's how you reach like certain people, because for high school students, like at Discovery, they used to give out so much information, and it'll be during lunch. Nobody's worried about getting information during lunch. We're trying to eat. We have 20 minutes, all that stuff. And then this year they started. They have an Instagram page, and like that's where everybody gets their information from. Like, and I feel like that's what's helping us more. I feel like how you get information to certain people. Like students, we're always on social media. So if you give us information through there, we're going to be able to receive it better.
So that's just like a real world example of like, there's a problem that you invite an intern into your working environment. They're seeing it with brand new, fresh eyes, a new generation, which like, I just don't have the ability to see through your eyes. Right. And then you can kind of say, hey, look, here's all of the gaps that you don't see. I can see those. And for business owners, I just feel like that is of tremendous value. And also for schools too, because, they want their students to be engaged in the community. They're putting on their own events, but they are wanting that interaction. And it's just not always available from someone who they feel like, okay, this is safe to promote to students. So the benefits across the board seem to be like just tremendous. And there you go. I mean, that's the perfect example. You're putting on events in Lawrenceville.
Yep.
Your student intern is basically, Nicole's like, hey, look, we've never heard of any of this.
Yes.
And
and that shows you're like, okay, well, there is a gap there. And I think the beauty of that, like you said, from any business is that you get to see it from fresh eyes, but you get to also kind of be hip in a sense where you're able to connect to the students in their way.
Right.
I think so many times you get into your silo of, okay, I know that this social media channel works, I know this billboard works, and things of that nature. But it's good to bring in fresh eyes to give you a fresh perspective of, how to connect beyond just what you've done.
Right.
Not that it's a bad way. It's just you may have to step out of that box and think creatively in a sense too.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. It's thinking in that with that hyper local sensibility too, because you're promoting things for a city like Lawrenceville with population over 30,000 people in the city limits, in a county with a population of over 950,000 people.
Yes.
Our problem should be like, stopping people from coming to the events more than
getting people.
we only can hold so many people, but that still isn't our issue. Our issue is trying to get people in the zip codes to come to our businesses, to come and how do we communicate hyperlocally is all through relationships and our community.
Yes.
And if we don't engage with each individual generation, then we don't see the gaps. We don't know who we're missing. And it's like you have to have programs like this in a community to be a community, right?
Yes.
Jim, maybe tell us a little bit about where you hope this goes. I know that you have some really cool features of the program. I did want to touch on signing day because that's super cool.
The best.
Like a sporting event, if you've ever been to like an NFL draft or anything like that, there is this moment where the students and the job creators and everyone gathers together and they sign on new interns. Tell us, how did you spark that idea? Where'd that come from?
It actually came from an original partner. Her name is Deirdre Cox. And she was involved and we were kind of thinking, from the beginning of this, we really wanted it to be about celebration, celebrating our local talent, celebrating that these students are way smarter than we ever were in high school, and to take a chance on them and to celebrate all of those different things. And then it was kind of, what could we do at the beginning of this that is just so different, but is really focused on these students. And we found out that a majority of them are not athletes. And Jasmine and I are both former college athletes. And so we both had signing days.
Yeah.
And I can remember having that at my high school. And it was a really, really big deal. And it's a big deal nationally. It's a big deal personally and for your families. And so we were kind of like, let's tap into that, but let's celebrate that these students have earned these positions. I think that's what's very different from others is that they're not assigned these internships. They have to go through 8 hours of workforce development training, and then they interview at the businesses. So the businesses are the ones that are selecting them. So when they're standing up on that stage and they walk across and it says, Nicole with the City of Lawrenceville, she earned that and she got that position. And I think that's a very proud moment, not only for the student, but we make sure that we recognize that and celebrate. And my favorite thing is to look out in the audience and see the parents and to see their reaction to it,
right,
and just the immense pride that is on their face. And then they come up to you afterwards and they're just kind of like, thank you so much for allowing us to be here and to see this. And then we do the same thing at the end of the summer. We celebrate again. We love to celebrate.
Yeah.
Celebration's good.
Celebration is always good.
I mean, you repeat what you celebrate.
That is
good or bad.
I love that. Did you guys catch that? That was right there is the hack for the day.
Yes.
You say it again.
You repeat what you celebrate.
You repeat what you celebrate. I love that.
So if we want to keep repeating this, we got to keep celebrating our students and how they're changing our community. And so we do the signing day. It's a big deal for the students. It's a big deal for our community. We bring in all the community leaders. Again, that's what's so fun to watch that grow.
Yeah.
'Cause when we first started, it was very few leaders in the room because they didn't know what it was. Again, that we had to give them an example.
Yeah.
And then when they see all these students, they kind of buy into it. And then it's growing within the schools. It's growing, I think, even with the students. You guys are talking about a lot about communication. When the students love what they do, they are your greatest asset because they're going to tell their friends.
Yes.
So that's part of how this is growing is they're now advertising and telling everybody, hey, you need to go. Make sure you sign up for this. Have you received your flyer?
Right.
It's the students that are now the ones advertising because they believe in it. And they benefited from it and they continue to benefit from it. And it's a win all around. So,
Nicole, tell us about what you thought of that celebration the first time you saw it.
At first, when they told us, like, oh, you're going to have a signing day, I was like, what is this? I was like, for a job? I was so confused. But then it was just like, I felt like I really enjoyed that because you basically got to show off, like, you did this. And I know for, like, me and my family, my mom, she was posting it everywhere. Telling my family. My mom was like, oh, my gosh, look at you working in the city, all this stuff. So it was just like, you basically got to, like, show off your accomplishment.
Sure. I mean, these are celebrated, positions. It's a paid internship. Mm-hmm. It's a real opportunity. And like you said before, it's different from just going to the local fast food chain and getting a, high school job to get you through high school. Yeah. And, it's a leg up. It's a something worth celebrating. Absolutely. It's pretty neat.
Yes.
They don't have signing days at Burger King, I don't think.
They sure don't.
They sure don't. They should.
Oh, my goodness. Maybe, Jasmine, tell us a little bit about how some businesses can get involved. If you're a business in Lawrenceville and you're hearing about this program for the first time, how can people get signed up for it and be a part of it?
Yeah, great question. There's a few ways. So actually, in November, we have Love Lawrenceville Day, which was a new concept we started last year with Impact 46. But it's a day where businesses can come together towards students and give them a sense of what they do on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. But also there's a speed interview round where students are able to talk to those business owners, managers, just get a better concept of what they do, but also, go through that practice round, a mock interview of substance. But cool. During that time, businesses are able to come and really see these passionate students of what they want to learn and what they're learning in school and things of that nature. So that's one way just to kind of get your foot wet if you're looking to be involved in Summer of Impact. Like I said, it's just a way for them to really learn about what the students are doing and what they're doing in their school. But then we also have recruitment happening at the beginning of the year, sometime in January, February, where businesses are able to come together and just learn from Impact 46, myself and others, about just the Summer of Impact, what that entails, what's the what students are looking for, what jobs they're interested in, the pay. I think that's a really big deal. I think employers really want to know, okay, what's my commitment level to this and what do I have to do? And so it's really just setting those expectations early and just, getting that buy-in early from the businesses. So those are just a couple of ways that they can get involved, but also reaching out to myself, Jen, the schools, if they're ever interested as well. We have 2 academy coaches that we work with that do a great job at just business outreach as well. And so they go out and meet businesses, talk about the Summer of Impact, Love Lawrenceville Day, and they're able to give their experience as well from their perspective. And so there's a few ways that they can get involved. And so we just hope that as they hear this podcast, but also as they're, in their day-to-day, that they just learn from the Summer of Impact of why it's so important to connect with these students. But like you said, a fresh perspective and a fresh pair of eyes to your business, it opens up a ton of doors for you.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's opening the door to the next generation that will be Lawrenceville of the future. So, you have to be involved. So I highly encourage any business owner listening to get involved with this. Jen, can you give us a picture of what happened this last summer with this year's Summer of Impact and what that looked like for you guys?
This summer, we were so excited because we missed 2020 because of COVID. And so we were working with both Central and Discovery, and we had 20 interns, and they're all paid interns, and most of them are making $10 an hour. And so they're working anywhere part-time to full-time. But we had a great group of students. Not going to brag, but Jasmine called them her favorite.
I'm just saying.
This is the favorite group.
I think you can say that was a very good...
They're all my favorites.
Thank you. They are great.
You have to think like a mom, right?
Yeah.
They're all your favorites.
They were all really great. I've loved every single one we've had.
But this year, I think, was really special because we were hearing from local educators that students were disengaged. Obviously, in the world of Zoom, they were craving face-to-face, and they were craving relationships. And so that's really what we focused on this year. And so they all had jobs, and we're doing a great job. But then we also do some community leadership workshops during the summer once a week. And that is my favorite thing about the Summer of Impact. But that's where we help the students kind of take what they're learning day to day, and then transfer that to how to think about the ownership of your city. So what does it mean to be engaged? What does it mean to be involved? And we teach them some asset-based community development principles on how to do that. But then they solve some issues that are that they're faced with as students, and then they present those findings and those things to our city government and to our community leaders at the end of the summer. And what we found is that it energizes them to go back into the school year, which is really exciting. So whether it's going back into their senior year and having the best senior year that they can, or it's going and it's launching them off into their college career or technical career. And so that's what I think our city is really benefiting from is we now have engaged students. They're doing things like registering to vote at their schools. Yes. Like they're really pushing for that. They're just, they're involved, they're volunteering at local events, and they're starting new clubs. So the students are going back much more engaged, and that means that they're more than likely going to be more successful. So more engaged students do far better in school than disengaged. And so it's a little internship. It started very small. It's 8 weeks long, but it's highly relational. And I think that's what we continue to pour in is ourselves, and we bring people to the table, and that benefits everyone when you're in relationships with one another.
That is so great. That is so great. Guys, this has been an awesome podcast and conversation. I want to give Nicole the last word on this particular episode here. So last word from you. This is a Lawrenceville Bicentennial Podcast. We've had 200 years of history in Lawrenceville. You might have just thought that, you were signing up for a regular old internship program. But now that you've kind of been through, the summer and the position and all of that, and you're making history on this podcast, we only do it once every 200 years. The last one, no one heard it because podcasting wasn't invented yet. But so now maybe just speak to your fellow students and encourage them to try new things like this. What do you think the real value is? And hey, look, you got small businesses listening. You got the citizens of Lawrenceville listening. You got the city listening. So maybe just tell us, what you think that we need to know that this generation needs.
Okay, first, I would like to say to the students, just be more aware of what's going around you. I know we're all in our phones. I know as a senior, I'm worried about college stuff. I feel like if we could just take time to be more aware of opportunities like this, that would best benefit us. And then to leaders and things, I'll just say take a chance, because a lot of a lot of students, we're here, we have stuff to say, we have ideas,
right.
And if we just have someone who will actually sit down, listen to what we actually have to say, I feel like that would be mutually beneficial on both parties.
That's awesome. That's
Beautiful.
So great. Guys, thank y'all so much for all being here today. It was a joy talking to you guys, and just this is awesome. I mean, I think that we have to do more to improve both economic development, workforce development, the relationships in our community, and I really loved what you said about owning our city. So, guys, thank y'all so much for being here. That's it for this episode of the Lawrenceville Bicentennial Podcast. Guys, please remember to subscribe to the show on everywhere a podcast is free, Apple, Spotify, you name it, and here as well on the Lawrenceville YouTube channel. So, guys, y'all have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.